These days, the internet is with us everywhere we go, powered and connected to every facet of our world. Are the chips that make it all possible worthy of your investment dollars?
Can the semiconductor stocks keep rocketing higher? In just the last 3 months, the Philadelphia Semiconductor Index, the SOX, has rallied 14%. I think some of these names, though, could have a lot more room to run. Take Analog Devices, ADI. The designer of chips that are used in a broad array of end markets, everything from cars to aerospace, defense, consumer products, including the Internet of Things. Now, the big news from Analog Devices this year came over the summer when the company shrewdly announced it was buying Linear Technologies for $14.8 billion. It's a high-margin chip maker with a terrific engineering team. On top of that, when the company reported about a month ago, it delivered a blowout top and bottom line beat. And they haven't even closed on Linear yet. So just imagine how much they can do once this merger is done. That's why I think the stock could have more upside, but don't take it from me. Let's check in with David Zinsser. He's the CFO of Analog Devices. Learn more about how his company's doing, where it's headed. Mr. Zinsser, welcome to Mad Money. Good to see you, sir. Have a seat. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, David, you got one of the most exciting stories, and I talk way too much about Internet of Things because it's so important, but I finally have an Internet of Things guy. So can you tell me, because we had so many people, I did a Facebook Live this week. Some guy, Frank, said, would you please tell us what Internet of Things is? Tell us what it is.
Well, I think, Internet of Things is really about taking information from the real world, collecting it, bringing it up to the cloud, analyzing it, and making decisions based on it. Do preventative maintenance, better healthcare systems. And so really what ADI does is we are that connection between the real world of light, motion, temperature, and the digital world that collects this data and analyzes it.
Well, I've got to ask you about this because I'd never heard of this term. I'm reading your call, LiDAR. Yeah. LiDAR is kind of a great example of what Analog does, right?
It is, yeah. So, as we move along with autonomous vehicles, right now what autonomous vehicles do mostly is use radar to detect what are the objects in its path. LiDAR is really the next generation that will be able to even more accurately detect what things are in the car's paths, which will enable autonomous vehicle to really get to the next level.
Light detection and ranging, you're great at it. I have to believe that almost every car will have to have Analog Device chips once they're built with this.
Well, hopefully. I mean, there are certainly other players in the LiDAR space, but what we did is we acquired a company just last year, not Linear Technology, a little company, and this company actually will enable us to deliver LiDAR in a very cost-effective way so that almost every car could have it.
Okay, there we go. Now, to go through the big acquisition, you have a great deck about the complementary capabilities across high-value applications, industrial, infrastructure, automotive, consumer. You will be a number one or number two in all these segments once this deal closes.
Right.
How's that possible?
Well, I mean, we had a very strong position in what's called the data converters, which is really this conversion from the analog world to the digital world. What we lacked was power management. And so all of these applications, as they get more and more advanced, they require more and more sophisticated power. And you don't want to have increased power in your systems as you're advancing the technology. So what Linear Technology does very well is that particular thing. They actually manage the power unbelievably efficiently at very high performance levels. And it's the one critical piece of the portfolio that we didn't own at this point. Right. And so it's just a great addition to ADI.
Now, I know consumer is going to be a relatively small part of this, which is good. I know that a lot of companies are worried about being too dependent on Apple, and Apple doesn't like people talking about them, but on an Apple Watch. This will reduce your you won't be at all hostage to any one company, whether it be and any one product like a watch at all.
That's absolutely correct. We have 100,000 customers. We'll have no customers over 10% of our revenue. We'll have over 30,000 products, so no one single product's going to determine our future. It's a great kind of diversified story, which is somewhat unique in the semiconductor space.
Now, you guys generate a huge amount of cash flow. I was quite surprised. And you're also talking about some goals, 4 or 5 million in sales, 4 or 5 billion in sales soon after this deal closes. Pretty aggressive.
Well, I mean, they add $1.5 billion of revenue to our close to $3.5 billion. So we'll easily get to the $5 billion. And now the steps are, can we take it, that much further and advance the growth? On the cash flow side, we will generate about maybe somewhere between 35 and 40% of our revenue into free cash flow, which is impressive.
So you'll be able to pay down that debt, because there's a lot of debt.
Unbelievably quickly, yeah. So we should be able to pay about $1 billion of the debt down every year.
All right, on the conference call, I thought it was funny. I mean, everyone wants to know what's a Trump stock and not a Trump stock, and what it means for you. You guys very easily just said, this was November 22nd, we hear the rhetoric. Now, that's almost been a full month. Is there anything more than rhetoric yet?
No, I mean, I think that everything he talks about as it relates to the U.S. economy and trying to stimulate the U.S. economy is going to be good. And we sell, as you pointed out, a lot into the industrial infrastructure space. If that stimulates, certainly that's going to be positive for us. As to the other initiatives that he's got going, I don't know. I think we have to wait and see how that goes.
I thought it was interesting. Industrial's 39%. At one point in one of the conference calls, you actually say that a core kind of business is robotics. Yeah. Now, robotics that replaces humans. So, I mean, in some ways, what you do is make any sort of manufacturing more efficient.
Absolutely. I mean, the idea is to make systems and equipment more efficient, better, able to detect when they are going to have an issue in terms of a maintenance issue. So that's what we do best. Yeah.
All right, one last question. At the start of the call, which was a magnificent call, you say, we executed well in a tough business environment. Since the Great Recession, all we've ever heard about is the tough business environment. I'm not asking you to say pro-Trump or anti-Trump, but do you think it's possible that the stock market is saying that the tough business environment might be ending?
Yeah, I think that's probably what it's saying. I think, the one challenge has been that there's a high level of, administrative bureaucracy that we all have to deal with.
Regulation.
And if you can eliminate that, that's certainly going to be beneficial to corporate America.
Well, I'm glad. Look, you're a real manufacturer. Of course, you're in semiconductors. That doesn't make you less of a manufacturer. And it's good to hear that there could be something good because, boy, your company is so uniquely positioned to take advantage of it. That's David Zinsner, CFO of Analog Devices. What a great acquisition they're doing. Won't close that soon, but it'll close next year. And I think you got to be there before or after it. It doesn't matter. Mad Money's back after the break. Booyah! Jim Cramer here from Mad Money. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube. Click here to subscribe and get the jump on my exclusives with CEOs, plus market news, investing advice, and a whole lot more.